Welcome back to the Literary Lori YouTube channel. It is the top of April 2026, and it is time for another edition of BIPoC Book News. Our first story is so spicy, we shouldn't wait to get to it. So let's get right to it. All right, welcome back, literarians, to the Literary Lori YouTube channel. I am Literary Lori, aka Lori L. Tharps, and I promised you that I would be coming back to you with these regular installments of BIPoC Book News, where I give you the latest news, reviews, and updates from the publishing industry from a BIPoC perspective, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. And our top story, like I said, it's spicy. It's also super cool. So here we go. Roxanne Gay. The Roxanne Gay has recently confirmed that she is, in fact, writing a romance novel. Yes, she is. She is writing a romance novel, and she is writing it with a collaborator, a partner. And that partner is none other than, wait for it, Channing Magic Mike Tatum. Yes, you heard me. Let's unpack this hot story. All right, so Roxanne Gay, she's known for writing serious, incredible, powerful books, news commentary, op-eds. She has a doctorate in rhetoric and technical writing. She recently became the publisher of the very prestigious literary journal, The Rumpus. She recently became the recipient of the Literarian Award from the National Book Foundation. I personally consider her the patron saint of all BIPoC literarians. Now, I think most people would consider Roxanne Gay a serious capital W writer. So it does seem a little strange that she would A, be writing a romance novel, and B, writing it with Channing Tatum. It all seems a little odd. But the thing is, we have to remember that Roxanne Gay is one of the most versatile writers, okay? She does write fiction. She does write nonfiction. She does write op-eds. She does write a Substack. And you know what else? She also writes comic books. Yes, she has written a version of a Black Panther comic for Marvel. Roxanne Gay basically can write whatever the hell she wants to, and she does it well. And that's what she has proven to us, her devoted fans, over and over and over again, is that she is a versatile, diverse writer. And what's more, some people don't realize, Roxanne Gay is hella funny. And so even though this might seem like a joke, and maybe for her, it's kind of a joke or like a challenge joke to write a romance novel. I mean, who's to say that Roxanne Gay doesn't love romance novels? Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't and just wants to challenge herself. But she did say on Dua Lipa's podcast recently that she did have a crush on Channing Tatum, and somehow he found out about it, and now they are collaborating on this novel. Now, you may think, what is Channing Tatum going to bring to this relationship, this literary relationship, other than his physique that could serve as inspiration for a character? Well, if you didn't know that beyond his Magic Mike stripper with the heart of gold characters that he's played in movies, he also recently played in a movie with Sandra Bullock in 2022 called The Lost City, where, fun fact, art imitating life, he played opposite Sandra Bullock, who was a romance writer. She was a famous romance writer, and he played the cover model who always appeared on her romance novels. Now, Sandra Bullock's character just kind of underestimated him and thought of him as just another pretty face, but it turned out by the end of the movie that he really had more than just a heart of gold. He understood what women wanted and needed in these romance novels. He didn't poo-poo them. He didn't belittle them. He really understood that women often needed, this is the character, that they wanted that fantasy, they wanted to feel seen, and they wanted to have a vision of a hot, sexy man who would be interested in them. And there was nothing wrong with that. And so maybe Channing Tatum can bring that to this book writing process. He can remind Roxanne of exactly what it is that women might want in a romance novel, or what they fantasize about, because probably a lot of them have told him. So I am excited about this collaboration. And you know, collaborations are very popular right now. There's a lot of people collaborating in the fiction world, writing novels together, people who you think would have no business writing together. And thanks to James Patterson, this is becoming a very popular a very popular trend. So what we know about this book of Roxanne Gay and Channing Tatum is that supposedly it's going to be out in 2027. Supposedly the characters are in their 40s. All right. And there's going to be a lot of sex. It's a lot of sex. It's very sexy, very spicy. And a lot of the sex takes place in a bakery. Okay. Take that, do what you want with that information. That's what I've heard. That's what I'm reporting. I will keep reporting as I find out more about this incredible romance novel to come. All right, let's move on to our next story. Okay, so our next story is actually about a new book that's coming out, and I wanted to share with you because it is a new book by a BIPoC author. It's a debut. It's a debut author. Sorry, trying to think of the word. And I wanted to get people to be aware of this because, again, when we have debut authors who have of BIPoC heritage, they need extra attention. So I wanted to just pull attention to this story. The book is called Spit: A Life in Battles. Now, it's a story about a young man who found his way in life. It's a coming of age story, found his way in life through a rap career. But the not the main character, well, I guess he is the main character, it's a memoir, but the author is actually Korean American. His name is Jonnie Park, and he goes by his stage name is Dumbfoundead. And I wanted people to just be aware of the book because it's coming out from a new publisher called Third State Books. Third State Books is relatively new. Really just a couple years old at this point, and they publish books by, for, and about Asian Americans. Okay, well, anybody can read the book. You don't have to be an Asian American, but they are publishing books written by and about Asian Americans. And obviously, they started this company because there's such a lack of representation of Asian Americans in the mainstream publishing world, and not only a lack of representation, but even just a lack of understanding how to support, how to promote both the authors and the stories themselves. So Third State Books is like, we're going to do this thing. We're going to create a publisher that specializes in telling Asian American stories. So this book, Spit, sounds really amazing, and it could be a huge success that transcends racial barriers, cultural barriers, because anybody would be fascinated by this book. I'm going to read just a little bit about it. So Jonnie Park was, and this is literally from the description on the website. Jonnie Park was born in Argentina to Korean parents and then smuggled by a coyote across the U.S.-Mexico border when he was 3 years old. He then grew up in LA amid cultural dislocation, his father's violent alcoholism, and the turbulent protests and riots of the early 90s in LA. Searching for belonging, he found salvation in the competitive underground world of battle rap, where he was among the only successful Asian American battle rappers. Okay, I'm already hooked. Literally, I had not heard of this man until recently. Again, I heard about it through Third State Books. But I am so interested in this man's story. He's going to be touring throughout April. He's going to be in LA. He's going to be at the LA Times Festival of Books. He's going to be in Seattle. He's going to be somewhere in Texas. He's going to be in New York City, and he's going to indie bookstores, which is really impressive. I'm happy to hear and see that. So the books, his bookstore stops look like they're going to be really interesting. He's going to be in good conversation partners. He seems like a pretty funny guy. If you look at his Instagram, a lot of personality, obviously good with the words because he wins rap battles. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I hope you guys can, if you're interested, go check him out, see if he's coming to a city near you, and definitely look at his book, and let's support good storytelling from smaller indie presses like Third State Books. All right, let's move on to the next story. Okay, so last month I told you all how the fashion industry is getting involved with the book industry. Coach is making book charms. Dior is making t-shirts and tote bags that are based on the covers of classic novels. Well, British Vogue is getting in on it too. And I am not mad. Turns out that the April 2026 edition of British Vogue has a fashion spread that's called I'd Rather Be Reading. And in there, you have the models are, doing whatever models do, but they're also reading. So they're all in different locations, but they all have the books that they're reading. And the models aren't just anonymous models, they're famous. So they're famous actors, dancers, singers, that kind of thing. And they're all actually reading the books that they actually want to read. Now, I think this is fantastic because you have obviously books there. You could say they're just props in this fashion spread, but and they do look nice. I saw some of the photos. They do look nice. And of course the models look nice, but they have these, the spread, they have people in their living rooms. They have dancers in dance studios. They have people at restaurants. So you basically see that books can be everywhere and that all these cool people have books and they're reading them. So in my opinion, this is what we need to do to counterbalance the falling rates of reading and literacy, well, the rising rates of illiteracy, the falling rates of people reading for pleasure. Now, having books in Vogue magazine is not going to make the literacy rates improve, but having books in Vogue magazine does something about making books seem cool, making them seem fashionable, and will perhaps make people rethink reading, because we also see what the famous people are reading and it might make somebody say, oh, I'll check that book out. The point is, it's not going to be incumbent on people who have stopped reading to just walk into a bookstore or walk into a library and see that, oh, books are so cool. They're going to be doing whatever it is they're doing instead of reading, whether that's being on social media, reading fashion magazines, or whatever it is they're doing, and bumping into the idea that books are cool, that reading is cool. So I think it's fantastic if we have other agencies, other entities, other industries trying to figure out how to support the books industry, how to get people to get excited about reading. I mean, if McDonald's decided to put little free libraries in all of their restaurants, can you imagine the impact that would have? Now, I'm not a big fan of McDonald's for a lot of reasons, but if they decided to put a little free library or a little mini bookstore in every single one of their restaurants, since they have such a massive global reach, I would be singing their praises. I would be having McDonald's. What is their da 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 da? I'd be loving it, right? That's what I would be doing with McDonald's if they decided to do that. And hey, McDonald's, if you do decide to do that, hook me up, and I will go get me some chicken McNuggets and talk about how wonderful the bookstore inside the McDonald's is. All right, shall we go on to our next story? Okay, so the last story is the fact that April is so lit. Oh my goodness. I hope I didn't just make this so loud, but April is one of the most lit months of the calendar year, and it's not just in the United States, it's globally, because there's so many literary celebrations that happen in April, and not just any literary celebrations, but the biggest, most important literary celebrations happen in April. So I'm going to just run through some of the highlights, and then you can look up even more and see what I mean. And again, so many of these literary celebrations happen all over the world, so look in your city, in your town, or nearby to see how and where you might participate in some of these celebrations. And some of them are things you can just do by yourself. But let's get started. First, April, the whole month of April is National Poetry Month, okay? So that means the poets are going to be out in full force. There's going to be extra poetry readings, probably open mic nights, all kinds of things for you to engage with the world of poetry. Also, even though it's past, April 2nd was National Children's Book Day. On April 7th, it's a new bookish holiday, Black and Bookish, so I love it. It is National Black Bookstore Day. That's April 7th is now officially National Black Bookstore Day. So go find a Black bookstore and buy something. Support them. Or I should say, and you could buy one of these 2 new books, I'm going to put them here on the screen, that are about the history of Black bookstores on Black Bookstore Day. Double the pleasure. All right. Then we have the second week of April is National Library Week. Go visit your library and be like, holla up in here. It's so awesome to have libraries. And on April 16th, it's National Librarian Day. Now, seriously, I need you to celebrate your librarians. I need you to take them a cookie, a cupcake, flowers, and say thank you for the work that they're doing as this administration and other things work towards dismantling the power of our libraries. They're on the front lines of the book ban fights. They're on the front lines of keeping books available and accessible to young people in the libraries. So please, on April 16th, do something to say thank you to our librarians. Next, April 23rd is the big granddaddy of all bookish holidays. It's World Book Day on April 23rd. And do you know why that's considered World Book Day? It's because both Shakespeare and Cervantes died on that day, years apart, but that is the idea of why we celebrate World Book Day on April 23rd. It is celebrated literally, it's called World Book Day. All over the world, people are celebrating the book on that day. Look it up, see what you might find to be celebrating, how people are celebrating near you. In Barcelona, April 23rd is also St. Jordi's Day, which is a celebration where they celebrate the book and roses. The whole city is transformed with books and roses everywhere. It's incredible. If you live in Barcelona, you know. But if you don't live in Barcelona, it's a great time to visit on April 23rd to observe the St. Jordi celebrations. Whew, I'm not even done yet, but I am almost. The last Saturday of April is National Independent Book Day, and a great way to celebrate National Independent Bookstore Day, besides going to a bookstore on that day, is to participate in the Global Book Crawl. For the second year in a row, with even more cities participating, we have the Global Book Crawl, which is when cities, I'm talking Istanbul, Brooklyn, cities in Mexico, cities in Spain, like all over the world, cities are participating. And what happens is in your city, you get a passport that has all of the different indie bookstores participating in displayed on the passport. You get your passport stamped at each of the participating stores and you win a prize. In Malaga, where I live, the prize last year was a trip to Italy. So it could be amazing prizes, but really, the prize is participating, supporting the bookstores, and all kinds of fun and literary shenanigans that happen along the way. So that is happening April 20 to the 26th. If you go to globalbookcrawl.org, you can find out if your city is participating. And if your city isn't, maybe you want to take a trip to a city that is and have a really lit holiday vacation. All right, literarians, that is BIPoC Book News for this early April edition. Remember, reading is fundamental. Writers are magical creatures, and generative AI is bad for your brain, bad for books, and bad for the planet. Okay? I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.